A number of years ago, a student of mine said something that I thought was absolutely wonderful. She made a comment that, in her opinion, the shoulder or pectoral girdle is not a girdle, rather, it's a corset. So let's first make a comparison and go down to the pelvic girdle. A girdle is a piece of clothing that wraps around us 360 degrees and holds us in and stabilizes us. So if we're looking at the pelvic girdle here, and we pick any one point to start, I'll start on the left PSIS here, and I start to come around across the iliac crest. And now I'm on the left ASIS, and I come down and I go to the crest of the pubic bone on the left side. I go across the pubic symphysis joint, which is a joint, but it's a fibrous, fairly stable joint. And then the other pubic bone on the right side ASIS, right side iliac crest. Come back around. Now I'm on the right PSIS. I go across the right sacroiliac joint, which is a joint, but it's a fairly fibrous, stable joint usually, across the sacrum to the left sacroiliac joint, back to the left PSIS. And other than the two sacroiliac joints and the pubic symphysis joint, which again are quite stable, we have a 360-degree bony ring. That is a true girdle that is quite stable. So now we come up to the shoulder or pectoral girdle, as it's called, and we take a look and we see, is this really a girdle? So let's pick a point to start on. I'm going to start on the medial border of the right side scapula, and I go across to the spine of the right scapula to the acromion process. I go across the acromioclavicular joint, which is quite a stable joint, across the clavicle, the right sternoclavicular joint, fairly stable, usually stable joint, across the manubrium of the sternum, left sternoclavicular joint, left clavicle, come around to the left acromioclavicular joint, the left acromion, the left spine of the scapula, and I end at the medial border of the left scapula. And I've never made my way back to the right scapula. There is a gap between the two scapulas. And in fact, this plastic skeleton makes that gap look much smaller because of the way the elastic bands hold the scapulas in place. More likely, typical ideal posture is back over here with a larger gap or cleft between the scapulas. So really what we have here is not a 360-degree girdle, but rather a corset. So what is a corset? A corset is a piece of clothing that goes much of the way around the body, but then there is a gap, and that gap is pulled taut, is stabilized by laces, by lacing. You tie up those laces and you stabilize in on the body with the corset there. So what is the lacing that holds this shoulder corset together? The lacing would be retraction musculature of the scapulas, of the shoulder girdles. It would be the trapezius muscle, especially the middle trap fibers, and the rhomboid musculature. And it is the tension of the traps and the rhomboids, the retraction musculature, that holds and stabilizes the shoulder girdle in place. But as we well know, if the traps and the rhomboids become weakened at baseline tone and they become lengthened out, then our shoulder girdles can collapse forward into protraction, what is so often known as upper cross syndrome. So really the stability of the shoulder region is more created not by a bony ring, but by musculature, traps and rhomboids, retractor musculature. So down at the pelvic girdle, it is a true girdle. But the shoulder girdle is not really a girdle. It is a corset. We have a pelvic girdle. We have a shoulder or pectoral corset.